Top Gun isn't a movie about flying. I know, 40 years of leather jackets, Ray-Bans, and I feel the need for speed would tell you otherwise. But I rewatched it this week to mark the anniversary, and somewhere between the volleyball scene and the final dogfight, it hit me. This is a movie about a man who can't fly with anyone else, and the moment he learns to is the only moment that matters. Here's the thing nobody talks about with Top Gun. On the surface, it's pure 80s jet fuel with a side of cheese that somehow still tastes good. Real jets, real pilots, no green screen. Tom Cruise smiling that smile he's been cashing checks on ever since. Kenny Loggins playing like the Navy hired him as a marketing consultant, and it still works. 40 years later, that aerial footage still gets your heart racing in a way modern CGI just can't touch. But spectacle isn't what makes a movie last 40 years. Plenty of 80s blockbusters had spectacle. Most of them are sitting in a Walmart bargain bin right now. Top Gun isn't. And I think it's because underneath all the noise, the movie is quietly asking one question. Can you trust the person flying next to you? Look at how the movie introduces Maverick. He's not just a hotshot. He's a guy flying in the shadow of a dead father he never knew, a father the Navy won't even talk about. He bends every rule because rules are for people who have something to lose, and Maverick has already lost the only thing that mattered before he could remember it. His whole identity is built on being the best, alone, on his own terms. Watch the first act again. Every relationship Maverick has is a competition. Iceman, rival, slider, target. Even Charlie. The romance starts as him trying to win. The only person he isn't competing with is Goose, and that's the whole point. Goose is the one person who flies beside him instead of against him. Goose is the one person who's already chosen to trust him before Maverick has earned it. And the movie is very, very careful about this. Every flying sequence in the first half shows you Maverick and Goose as a unit. They finish each other's sentences in the cockpit. They sing together at the piano. There's a brotherhood there that Maverick doesn't have with anyone else in his life. And yes, before anyone asks, the volleyball scene is still ridiculous. Oiled-up Navy pilots playing beach volleyball to a Kenny Loggins song has no business being in a serious movie. But that's kind of the point. Top Gun knows when to be ridiculous and when to be still. And it's the still moments that sneak up on you, which is why what happens next breaks him. When Goose dies, Maverick doesn't just lose a friend. He loses the one piece of evidence he had that he was capable of flying with someone, that he wasn't alone in the cockpit by nature. And the scene that follows, Maverick floating in the ocean, holding Goose's body, is one of the few moments in 80s action cinema where the hero is genuinely, completely broken. He doesn't have a one-liner. He doesn't have a plan. He's just a man holding the proof that trust costs something. And here's where the movie does something I didn't appreciate when I was younger. It doesn't fix him. Maverick goes back to flying and he can't pull the trigger. He hesitates. He disengages. The Navy psychologist would call it trauma. The movie calls it something older. It's a man who learned that flying beside someone you love means you might have to watch them fall. And once you know that, the sky isn't the same. So what brings him back? It's not a pep talk. It's not the girl. It's not even closure about his dad, though Viper gives him some. What brings Maverick back is the moment in the final dogfight when Iceman is in trouble and Maverick has every reason in the world to disengage, to save himself, to never lose another wingman, and he doesn't.
I'm not leaving my wingman.
4 words. That's the whole movie. Everything before that line is a man who flies alone by choice. Everything after that line is a man who has chosen, freely, to fly beside someone again, knowing exactly what it might cost him. That's not bravado. That's not speed. That's surrender. It's the hardest thing Maverick does in the entire film, and it happens in about 3 seconds of screen time. And then, and this is the part that gets me, Iceman, who has been his rival the entire movie, says, "You can be my wingman anytime." Maverick says, "You can be mine." 2 men who started the movie unable to fly with anyone choose each other, not because they have to, because they finally can. I've lived long enough to know what this movie is really saying. Talent isn't enough. Speed isn't enough. Being the best isn't enough. At some point, every one of us has to decide whether we're going to keep flying alone because it's safer, or whether we're going to leave a little room in the formation for the person next to us. Top Gun dresses it up in bomber jackets and aviators and a soundtrack you can't get out of your head. But strip all that away, and it's a movie about a man learning that courage isn't about how fast you can fly. It's about who you're willing to fly with. That's why it lasts. That's why we're still talking about it 40 years later. The jets are loud, the story is quiet, and the quiet part is what keeps us coming back. So that's what I see in Top Gun on the 40th anniversary. Not just nostalgia, not just spectacle. A movie about trust, dressed up as a movie about speed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more reviews. Until next time, leave room in the formation, trust the one flying beside you, and always stay rated.